Hey guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lindsay and I want to welcome you today. Today we're going to be talking about Heart of Dakota's Bigger Hearts for His Glory. I am a homeschooling mama. I've been homeschooling for 4 years and I just want to welcome you here today. I have an almost 10-year-old little boy who is finishing up his 3rd grade year, and I have a 7.5-year-old little girl who just finished 1st grade. So again, welcome, and we are going to jump right in and review Heart of Dakota's Bigger Hearts for His Glory. This is an amazing curriculum that was designed for children ages 7 to 9. It is definitely a top pick by Kathy Duffy. It is an all-in-one curriculum that's got everything. It is written to include all of your subjects. If you follow the guide, the way it is written, you will not have to add anything to it. You will not have to supplement it. It is just written as an all-encompassing, well-rounded, amazing curriculum. So let's just get started. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to show you the books that are included and just tell you how you can try it and how to get started. So it is written for ages 7 to 9. Like my other review of Heart of Dakota's Little Hearts for His Glory, the most important thing about this is that you need to use the placement guide on the website, because if your child is not placed in the correct guide, it may not challenge them appropriately. So you want your child to be challenged enough, but not too much, or you don't want your child to be bored. And so that's why it's so important to make sure you look at those placement guides, which I'm going to link down below. So it's written for ages 7 to 9. They do offer an extension package where if you have an older child and you want to put them in this guide, you can do that. The big thing about this guide is you are going to be going through American history. It is super fun. This was my son's favorite guide that we've ever gone through. He said it was his favorite homeschool year, so you can take that for his review, and I'll tell you about his favorite book when we get to it. So the first thing we're going to talk about, which is the first part of the guide, and I'll show you that in a minute, is going to be history. So you're going to use 4 books for history. You're going to use The Stories of Great Americans and a first book in American history. Now these 2 books, you will hear some people talk about that these are written somewhat in an old language, and there are some terms in there that are outdated and are not the best to be used. And so when you read these, you want to be careful, and you want to read them with your student, and you want to discuss that with them. In the beginning, I was reading these to my son, and by the middle to the end, he was reading these to me, and he would narrate these back. The other 2 are Journeys in Time, A New Atlas in American History. This one is beautiful colors, and then it gives you the dates, and it's definitely going to be, you're going to be looking at different things in geography, and then you're going to be looking at the timeline. But is the Wright brothers and their sister. We have loved that book. It has definitely been my favorite history book. When we get to it, I'll find it. That's probably been my favorite history book that we have done this year. All right, so geography is written into the guide, so you don't need to buy a separate geography program. It's written into that. It's written into the week, and it'll tell you exactly what to do. For Bible, you'll need a Bible. There is a devotion that you can buy to go with it, but we personally did not go with that devotional. I have used that author in the past, and it just was written in the Old English. It just wasn't my favorite, so we didn't go with that. But it's only written for a couple days during the week, and so that was just my choice. The other thing is hymns are written in, and it comes with this Hymns for the Heart. And this is great. It gives you the story about the hymn, about the author, and the sheet music for it, and a CD to listen to. And honestly, we kind of let this one fizzle out because we do a lot of praise and worship and hymns already. And so that was one thing we kind of did let fall to the wayside. Other than that, we did everything else. Another big portion of the guide is going to be your read alouds. Now these are going to include all different genres. You're going to have mystery, nonfiction, fiction, fantasy, humor, all sorts of genres, and these are amazing. And there are 3 different collections of read alouds you get to choose from. There is a girl collection, a classic collection, and a boy collection. We went with the boy collection because My son had read, we had actually as a family read a lot of and I think Charlotte's Web was part of the general or the classic, but we had read a lot of the regular books. And so we went with the boy collection, and these were wonderful. Truthfully, we did not read them all. I did a 25-week travel nurse assignment during our school year. We had a lot of help with the kids and homeschooling during that time, which I may make a video about how that went and everything, but that's another video for another day. Anyways, so we were a little behind in our read alouds, but these were wonderful. Here's that history book, The Wright Brothers and Their Sister. This was wonderful. My favorite history book of the year. The other thing to talk about is grammar. For grammar, you're gonna do rod and staff. They say these are about a grade level ahead. You're just doing a 2-page spread. This, in the beginning, we just did it orally. Towards the end, I had my son writing it would have like, at the very end, write these sentences or write this paragraph. And we really enjoyed this. I think it's sufficient. It is a little dry, but doesn't take long. It takes like 5 to 10 minutes max a day. I liked this. It was not super wordy. It was just it was enough. So you use rod and staff. For spelling, that's written into the guide. You can either do a spelling list or you can do dictation passages, which are written in the very back, which she explains how to do. We actually went with All About Spelling this year because we had done a lot of Orton Gillingham stuff in the past. So we just stuck with that this year. And we were also doing All About Reading Level 4, which you can be looking for that review coming up very soon. And so I just chose to stick with that. So for science, there are actually 6 books that you do for science this year. And there are 2 of the one small square books, one small square woods and one small square seashore. These were okay. They were not my son's favorites. And then Science in Colonial America. This one was pretty good. John Audubon. We enjoyed this one. Now, one thing I will tell you about Heart of Dakota is the literature is so rich. Heart of Dakota is definitely a mix of Charlotte Mason, classical, unit study. It's a very good mixture. Thomas Edison, Young Inventor. This one is a really good. We are finishing this one up as we speak. And the last one for science, which is our absolute favorite, is definitely my son's favorite book, is Pioneer Sampler. My favorite science book we read this year. So again, my favorite history book was The Wright Brothers and Their Sisters, and then our favorite science book was A Pioneer Sampler. Our nanny, who helped homeschool the kids this year, asked to borrow it. So that's where that book is. I don't have to show you. Such a fun thing. So the other second to the last thing I'm going to show you is poetry. Poetry is written for daily, and she gives you the poems. They're in the very back of the guide, but there are Facebook groups. And in the Facebook groups, there are amazing printables you can do. And so that's what we did. Each week, you're going to have a new poem. And I just printed them out and put them in these sheet protectors and put them in here. And that made it super easy for us to do. We really enjoyed all the poems. Going back to Bible, each week with the Bible, you're going to have a memory verse and a character trait that you're learning about. And in that Facebook group, there are printable little cards that I laminated and put on a little ring. And that's how we use to memorize our scripture. And that was super helpful. So now let's look at the guide. So in the guide, you're going to have a 2-page spread. And this 2-page spread is so helpful. Now that I'm used to doing Heart of Dakota, I love this 2-page spread. So we'll kind of just flip through a week. So this is week 19, day 1. You have your history. Every day you're going to have your history. Then this day you have artistic expression, which she gives you verbatim all the time. She gives you what to say, the key ideas. She gives you how to do the art project, and it's very simple stuff that you're always going to need. She gives you about the poetry, and she introduces all the different things about the poetry. And the author is Carrie Austin for all of these guides. She is amazing. She has poured her heart and soul into all of Heart of Dakota. Carrie Austin and her whole family, who helps her run all of this stuff with the curriculum, is amazing. And so the poetry, she gives you all different things about that. She gives you optional copy work to do with the poetry. Then there's Bible study, and you talk about the character trait, and she introduces the character trait. You introduce the Bible verse, and then you have the corresponding music for the hymn. Then you have language arts. Oh, and I didn't mention, she gives you recommended cursive copy work. And this was with cheerful cursive. And in the beginning, my son liked this. And you go to making bigger words. And he has done cursive before. But towards the end, it gives you just sentences without giving you towards the end, this was not his favorite, but he's done most of it. It was good. It was not his favorite cursive program ever. So I'll just say that. So in language arts, the cursive is written in, and then you've got part of language arts is the rod and staff, which is part of that. And then it talks about the spelling. And then you've got your reading choices, which are, she gives you in the very back of the guide a emerging readers book list and how to do the emerging readers list, or she's got your Drawn into the Heart of Reading, which is an amazing full literature program, which you can find out more about on the website. It's like a whole program, but instead we were doing all about reading. So that was the one thing we didn't follow the guide for. And then you've got story time, which is your read alouds. And then you have your math exploration, which is using Singapore. And then you have your science exploration. And so continuing on, that just goes through the week. Now, the newer guides, this is a guide, this is an older guide that I got used. The newer guides have printable, they have, not printable, excuse me. The newer guides actually come with student sheets. They're beautiful, they're beautiful, they're really nice paper sheets for your student to use, student sheets. But the older guides, the way Carrie Austin had written them, were for your student to make their own notebooking pages. And that's what I preferred. I wanted my son to learn how to make his own notebooking pages. And so in the guide I have, and I'll tell you, mine is copyright 2007. She actually gives you directions to make your own notebooking pages. Now, I did print these out, some of these out on the Facebook page, but he made his own notebooking pages, and I think these turned out so well. So some of these, yes, I did print out the science pages, but I think it just taught him so much more about like spatial awareness and different things like that. Just kind of flipping through his work. One thing we did do this year was use erasable pens, but I'm just quickly looking through here. I just think that this guide was wonderful in having him really learn how to take drawings and learn how to put them on a page, how to do like a science page with a question, your hypothesis and conclusion. And I think this guide is wonderful. I highly recommend this. This was wonderful for our 3rd grade year. Again, the newest guide comes with student pages. Oh, a big part of one thing I wanted to mention. The new student pages come with vocabulary pages. The old guide tells you to get a notebook and you label it with the alphabetical order, and you actually write in your vocabulary. That was part of the guide, was One day a week you did vocabulary, and one day a week you made a timeline. And so this was our timeline, which our poodle got a hold of. But I just think this taught him so much about just working and spatial awareness on the piece of paper and how to do it. I personally love this guide. I think that making his own notebooks has been so helpful. In the Facebook group, there are so many printables on how to make your own notebooks, how to set up the guide, different things, all the materials you need. So in the beginning of the year, I went through the Facebook group, printed out what I wanted, and I think this guide is excellent. I think if you can get some of the older forms, if you want your child to make their own notebooks, I think that's wonderful. If you want to get the pre-printed out student pages, I think that's great too. So if you've ever used Heart of Dakota, let me know. If you've used Bigger Hearts, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to see something else, let me know. I would love to hear from you. Again, I think this guide is excellent for that 3rd, even 4th grade. Some people use it for 2nd grade. It's that 7 to 9-year-old age range. And again, use that placement guide. It was my son's favorite year. I highly, highly, highly recommend this program. My son has loved it so much, he wants to use the next guide for next year. I have no complaints about this curriculum. I think that it is wonderful. I can't thank Heart of Dakota enough for just you writing just a well-rounded curriculum. Again, this video was not sponsored. This was not sponsored at all. I just think this is just a wonderful fun. We definitely enjoyed the science experiments. That's one thing. So science experiments are written in, and that's what my son said he loved too. So I hope this was helpful. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.